Morning glory, evening grace, brother and sister. Good to have everybody back along with us here with our Temperance Awakening as we look at our 21st vaping lecture and day 14 of the quiz. So halfway through here of the 28-day therapeutic lectures. And here on to day 14, we're going to be looking at pursue your passions. Pursue your passions. And any kind of addiction erodes your discipline, enthusiasm, and focus. And some addiction specialists think that this decrease in focus on what really matters in life can keep people enslaved to substance abuse. So we're actually going to look at the case of Portugal, the country of Portugal. More than 20 years ago, so now that'd be like around 25 to 30 years ago now, Portugal had one of the worst drug problems in Europe. 1 in 10 people there had fallen into heroin use, so really big there, 10%, 1 in 10 people. That went everybody from bankers, cabbies, carpenters, farmers, salespeople, socialites, students, tailors, just about every class of people. People were using it on the street, in public squares, by the side of the road. Crime rates had shot through the roof. Not a day passed without a heroin-related robbery or mugging. Government officials formed a national panel to figure out how to solve this crisis. First, the panel recommended decriminalizing everything from cannabis to crack, which helped destigmatize substance abuse so that users felt less ashamed for needing help and more comfortable seeking help. The panel also recommended taking all the money the country was spending on arresting and imprisoning drug users and using it instead to reconnect them meaningfully with society. And a doctor, I'm probably not going to say his name correct, Dr. Joey Goulet, led that second effort. He wanted every addict in Portugal to wake up with something to do every day. He wanted people to have productive activities to do instead of getting high on drugs. The government subsidized housing and jobs for addicts. If a mechanic developed a drug problem, government officials would approach a local garage and ask that garage to employ the gentleman for a year. And the government paid half of his wages. And those results proved extraordinary. The country's drug use dropped by an astounding 50%. And every study showed that addiction rates were decreasing. And that often, even happens with people, if they want to quit smoking, using some kind of drug, drinking alcohol, or some really bad habit, they find more meaning in life. And, most of the people, well, I say most, I know a great percentage, maybe not the majority, I've not looked at all those stats, but I know though a great percentage of people that are involved in this kind of work that I'm doing are people who were previously addicts themselves. Like in our textbook here, like we have the story of a young lady who was first addicted to tobacco, who was a cigarette smoker, then she became a vapor, but now she works in tobacco censation. And lots of people, they find their meaning that way. They want to help people that have the same addiction. And, that could be other things as well. That could be like a dream job, some type of good employment. We'll mention that here. Briefly. And like nicotine addiction reprograms your brain to focus on nicotine at the expense of everything else. And the act of vaping also takes you away physically from other healthy, enjoyable activities. Like, using the lessons of Portugal and like what we mentioned about so many people, who were once, like tobacco users, vapors, drug users, alcohol drinkers, etc., who are now helping people with those addictions. Think about how you can live your life more passionately. Spend time today, considering what other than vaping that you love to do and want to do. What excites you, and that could be helping other people that also has an addiction, but, that might not be what you really want to do with, your life, generally speaking. That could be, that could be a vocation. Doesn't even necessarily have to be a vocation, but it could be. That could just be other wholesome activities. What excites you? What do you look forward to doing? that could be getting into better shape, exercising, experiencing art, spending time in nature. You might like to go hiking, bike riding, traveling. Or, reading books, getting interested in science, anything of that nature. And so just think, this is for you, and we're actually going to mention that with our teen talk to our parents, but that certainly also goes for adults. Something that you're, really interested in. And with that being said, going to have our teen talk now. A passionate life. And one of your jobs as a parent is helping your kids discover and embrace a passionate life. Teenagers love to throw themselves into activities they enjoy and to learn more about how different parts of the world work. It helps them form a positive identity and become adults. And one of your goals is to help them find good, healthy passions to pursue. So here's how you can make that happen. First of all, let them be themselves. You may want your teen to become a physician, a lawyer, a pro athlete, a teacher, a minister, something of that nature, which would be great, but, what does your teen, really want to do right now and in the future? I know we as parents always want great things for our children, but the hopes and dreams that we have for our children might not fit into, what they want to do or who they want to be. And worse, oftentimes I saw that, some parents, they can kind of put their kids in a straitjacket, like, I want you to do this or that with your life. Give your teen the space to figure this one out alone. Once again, doesn't mean that you can't give them suggestions, which actually we're going to look at here, but ultimately, let them figure that out. And first of all here, look at meaningful work. Have an ongoing conversation about how following a passion can create a meaningful, rewarding, stable life. Talk about careers and jobs as more than just a means to make money. If they do what they love and, they work smart at it and work hard at it, the money will follow. And also, give them time. In high school, students hear that, constantly. What do you want to study in college? What career do you want to get into? But a lot of them haven't figured that out. And they haven't even figured out really what they want to have for supper that night or what they want to do that weekend. Reassure them that they have time to figure out what they're really passionate about, and there's time to explore new subjects and develop new interests, and it's okay if those interests change over time, as they often do. And then also talents and abilities. Teenagers are still learning, about themselves, so they may not have any clear passions yet, that oftentimes even goes through, to young adults, to people, until they're really, maybe even in their mid-20s before they really figure out what their passion is. And if that's the case, one way to tackle that issue is to ask, what are you good at? And in that space, what do you like doing? Like, is your kid great at fixing things? Maybe they could be like a mechanic or like a computer technician. Good with animals. Maybe they could be a zoologist, a veterinarian. Maybe they have a gift for leadership, or, they're very intellectually smart. Maybe they could be a teacher or like a college professor, like science, become a scientist. Encourage your teen to try lots of different activities with no strings attached, at least a few different activities, we should say. Look at some local camps, clubs, community centers, online courses, part-time jobs, see what sparks an interest. And something will stick for at least a while. The more exposure, your teenagers have to different things, the better that they'll understand themselves. Then when something good does stick, encourage it. Even if it's not your cup of tea that you didn't really want your kid to do, and even if your kid isn't really great at it at the time. Adolescence is when kids start becoming their own selves, and if they really do like it, they can keep at it and eventually get good at it. And, we don't need to stand in their way as parents. And then if you're, like we said, that could just be something temporary. Like if your kid is interested in animals and they're volunteering at a zoo or like an animal shelter or something, they might want to quit that after a while, or like I said, or, any other activity or even like a little part-time job. And if they want to quit, that's fine. Remember, no strings attached. Make sure they gave it a fair shot, and if it's something that, you know, they just really didn't feel like they were good enough at, or something they just weren't interested in, you know, then move on and let them go into something else. And now for our activities here, of course, the same things we've been doing each day, our visualization exercises, still practicing H2M, at least to some degree, I would recommend. And now looking at the assignment for day 14, and that's on page 179 if you have the textbook, and of course that's Pursue Your Passions. And it's just 3 questions here, 2 things that we looked at. And try to answer these following questions in as much detail as below. First here, what fills you with anticipation? What fills you with anticipation? Then secondly, what can you do over and over and never get bored? So what can you do over and over and never get bored? And then lastly, what do you wish you could do all day long? What do you wish you could do all day long? And so that's actually going to conclude step 2, as we said, halfway through there. That was our second week, and now we're going to step 3, days 15 to 21, which is a Live Your Quit. That's kind of the title for the upcoming week. And day 15, our first day there, the third week, is Social Triggers. And so we'll be looking at that tomorrow. And so look forward to that. And thanks for making it this far. Congratulations to you for making it this far through 2 weeks. And we'll see you tomorrow, starting with week 3 and day 15. Until then, until the day breaking the shadows flee away, I'm Dr. Cooper, and I love you, and I appreciate you.